You sit near an open window after dinner, a warm mug resting between your palms. The room smells like coffee and clean laundry. And when a candle gutters, you pinch the wick and watch one thin ribbon of charred smoke curl harmlessly toward the ceiling. Everything feels controlled. Now remove the glass, the walls, the mug, the match, and every stir that made them. Your ancestors sat on bare ground beside a flame that could save their lives or choke them. Surrounded by plants with unknown powers and absolutely no warning labels, the comfort vanishes fast. So the question is simple. For thousands of years, with no cigarettes, no paper, no lighters, and no tobacco farms, when did human beings first choose to plant smoke into their bodies? And why? To answer that, you have to separate smoke from smoking. The first problem is not finding fire. It is proving intention. At Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, researchers found ash and burned bone roughly 1 million years old, showing that ancient human relatives were living with fire deep inside the cave. Your ancestors certainly breathed smoke long before anyone invented a pipe. But coughing beside a smoky hearth is not the same as deliberately inhaling a plant for its effects. Here is what nobody tells you. Archaeology preserves stone, bone, charcoal, and sometimes seeds, but it does not preserve a breath. You can uncover a fireplace and still have no idea whether someone leaned away from the smoke, waved it over their skin, or pulled it deep into their lungs. How do you excavate a decision that vanished in seconds? You usually cannot. That means the first true smoker may be permanently invisible, hidden somewhere between the discovery of fire and the invention of equipment built specifically to control smoke. Your ancestors may have noticed that certain leaves smelled different, repelled insects, calmed pain, sharpened attention, or changed dreams, but until physical evidence appears, that remains a plausible story, not a proven one. Smoke came first. Smoking left almost nothing. Then, in 2015, a black stain appeared in the Great Salt Lake Desert of Utah. Archaeologist Darren Duke and his team uncovered an intact hearth at a place now called the Wishbone site, named for the thousands of waterfowl bones scattered around it. Beside the burned duck bones lay stone tools and a hasket-style spear point. Inside the hearth were 4 tiny, charred seeds from nicotine, the tobacco family. Radiocarbon dates from burned plant material placed the fire about 12,300 years ago, near the end of the Ice Age. Think about that for a second. Your ancestors were using tobacco while the Ice Age was ending, thousands of years before farming, cities, metal, or written language. The people at Wishbone were highly mobile, hunter-gatherers living beside wetlands in what is now one of the driest landscapes in the United States. But here comes the frustrating part. Those 4 seeds do not prove smoking. Tobacco seeds make poor fuel, and the plant was not an obvious food. The leaves may have been chewed or sucked for nicotine, with loose seeds falling into the fire. The plant may have been burned so its smoke could be inhaled. Both explanations fit, and after 12 millennia, the hearth refuses to choose between them. Here is what does not make sense until you think about it. The oldest evidence for tobacco use is not automatically the oldest evidence for tobacco smoking. Wishbone pushes your relationship with the plant deep into the Pleistocene, but it cannot show exactly how the plant entered the body. Wishbone gives you the user, not the method. Then the evidence changes shape. Across the ancient Americas, your ancestors began making narrow stone tubes and carved pipes that had one unmistakable purpose. Material burned at one end, and a person drew smoke through the other. At the Cox's Pond site in the Pacific Northwest, pipes date to roughly 4,500 years ago, placing deliberate plant smoking thousands of years before the familiar clay pipes of recent centuries. That sounds like the mystery is solved. It is not. A pipe proves smoking, but it does not prove tobacco. Indigenous communities used many smoke plants, including smooth sumac, dogwood, sage, yew, and other local species. Some mixtures may have been medicinal. Some may have tasted better. Some may have supported ceremonies, social gatherings, or communication with the sacred. Here is the part nobody talks about. The earliest pipe was not simply an ancient cigarette, a holder. It was a piece of technology that separated smoke from the bonfire and placed it under human control. Your ancestors could now choose the plant, concentrate the smoke, regulate the amount, and decide exactly when the experience began. The fire stopped being the center. The breath became the center, And that little tube changed smoke into technology. Now you need one final piece, the molecule. At the Flint River site in northern Alabama, archaeologists recovered a late archaic smoking tube, dated between 1685 and 1530 BCE. Inside it, the residue survived. Researchers used gas chromatography and mass spectrometry, machines that separate ancient residue and identify its chemical fingerprints. The result was nicotine that made the object the earliest clear chemical. Evidence currently known for tobacco smoking in North America about 3,500 years ago. For the first time, you have the device and the plant together. Later studies made the picture richer. In 2018, Shannon Tushingham and colleagues tested 12 pipes and fragments from 5 sites along the Columbia and Snake Rivers in southeastern Washington. 8 contained nicotine, with the oldest samples reaching back about 1,200 years. In 2020, another team identified both native tobacco and smooth sumac in a roughly 1,400-year-old basalt pipe from central Washington. Your ancestors were not always smoking one plant. They were making recipes. And suddenly the timeline becomes clear. Your ancestors used tobacco at least 12,300 years ago. They were definitely smoking plants through pipes by roughly 4,500 years ago, and they were definitely smoking tobacco by about 3,500 years ago, when nicotine became trapped inside that Alabama tube. Chemistry finally caught an ancient breath. But a date only answers half the question. Why would your ancestors repeat an act that burns the throat, irritates the lungs, and can make a first-time user cough violently? The obvious answer is pleasure. The deeper answer is speed, control, and meaning. Tobacco did not create nicotine for you. The plant evolved it as a chemical defense against insects. Yet inside your nervous system, that same molecule can trigger attention, reward, and changes in mood when nicotine is inhaled. It can reach the brain in about 10 seconds, far faster than a slowly chewed leaf. Your ancestors did not know the chemistry, but they could feel the difference almost immediately. That speed mattered. A pipe turned a wild plant into a timed experience. One breath could mark the start of a meeting, a healing act, a prayer, a trade, a story, or a moment of shared silence. Archaeologists have found pipes not only in burials, but also on house floors, beside hearths, and inside caches, suggesting smoking moved through several parts of life rather than belonging to one single ritual. Here's what nobody tells you about ancient intoxicants. Your ancestors rarely separated medicine, spirituality, community, and pleasure into neat modern boxes. A plant could calm a body, focus a mind, connect a group, and carry sacred meaning at the same time. The smoke was chemical, the ritual was human. That difference matters because the object in your modern hand is not the object your ancestors created. For most of its ancient life, tobacco demanded work. Someone had to recognize the plant, gather or cultivate it, dry it, prepare it, and often use it within rules understood by a community. Then tobacco crossed the Atlantic after European contact, spread through global trade, and slowly changed from a powerful plant relationship into a mass-produced commodity. The decisive transformation came in Virginia. James Bonsack received U.S. Patent 238,640 for his cigarette-making machine on March 8, 1881. The machine could produce about 200 cigarettes per minute, replacing the slow hands that had once rolled only a few. In one mechanical leap, an ancient, context-bound practice became something factories could repeat almost without pause. Think about what change. Your ancestors discovered a plant that altered consciousness. Later, communities built pipes to control it. Chemists and archaeologists eventually found the nicotine their breath left behind. But industrial society did something entirely different. It removed the waiting, the scarcity, the preparation. In much of the cultural boundary around use, the plant stayed powerful. The scale became monstrous. Smoke came at your ancestors as 4 problems. It choked before it rewarded, vanished before it could be preserved, hid, which plants mattered, and resisted control. They answered with observation, gathering pipes, and ritual fire gave them smoke. Curiosity gave it purpose. Pipes gave it control. Tobacco gave it speed. Every answer carried a cost. The story is not that your ancestors were foolish enough to inhale smoke. It is that they were brilliant enough to discover invisible chemistry with no laboratory, then human enough to build meaning around the sensation. The danger arrived when later societies learned to copy that sensation faster than culture could contain it. Now you are back beside the open window, the warm mug still between your palms. The candle is dark, but its last gray ribbon hangs in the clean room for one more second before disappearing.